Recorded live at Talks and Tasting Studios, it's the Clerical Errors Podcast, the podcast that shows you what's behind the collar. Let's go.
Well, welcome to the Clerical Errors Podcast from the Talks and Tasting Studio. I'm Bollhagen.
And I'm Berg.
And we have a special guest today.
I'm Kearney.
State your name, Kearney. What's your rank?
I am a first lieutenant in the Army, a chaplain in the U.S. Army.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, we just had his installation service here not too long ago.
Beautiful sermon.
It
Beautiful
was
sermon.
If I had tear ducts, I would have cried for joy.
I told Julie afterwards, I said it was kind of basic, but it was, I didn't really break any ground there, but...
It was good. It was good.
That's all right. Yeah.
So, since Kearney's leaving us, he brought the beverage.
The beverage.
Yes, I brought a Lake Time Brewery, which is an Iowa brew, and it's Oktoberfest, being October, and this is my last night, really, in Iowa. I'm the truck leaves tomorrow with all of our earthly possessions, and I'm following it out. So I thought we could toast to the last 5 years, well, 7, with Pastor Bollhagen. I was vicar. What was I, 0.0? I would have been 9.
Maybe,
like
something like that.
Yeah, 9.0. And so I've known Pastor Bollhagen for a while now, and
you were the Abacus version.
Yeah, that's right.
In Bible study, I got a little teary-eyed, and I said, you know what? Our vicar's growing up. Look at him.
Yeah, so I've been here the last 5 years in the circuit with these guys, and so I thought we'd toast to it with Oktoberfest Bavarian Lager from Lake Time Brewery. So.
All right. So what I might do is I might just pepper you with questions every once in a while. When I get distracted, I'll just fire a question, and I'm curious about the chaplaincy. So. Well,
you would never get distracted. That's.
Yeah, he's known for his singularity of purpose.
That's right.
Hey, I'm honest about it.
This is true.
It's helpful. It's helpful when I'm honest about it. Very good.
It serves you, though.
What do you think, Vicar? Vicar's here.
Tastes like I'm in Germany.
Huh? Have you ever been to Germany?
No.
Huh?
Really,
well, you look like you're in Germany.
Are the Bavarians really German, though? I mean,
now my family insists no. So I'm half Irish and half German, and I once said that in front of my dad, and he corrected me and said, "No, you're Bavarian." So
no,
they do not claim German status; they claim Bavarian.
So you're in the Army then, right?
That is correct.
So this is my first question. I wonder. Okay.
Okay.
That means you're a trained killer, right?
Well, I suppose technically in my enlisted days, yes, but no. Army chaplains do not carry.
Oh.
We are non-combatants according to the Geneva Convention and Title 10 U.S. Code. So we do not carry any weapons. We are there to be pastors to the flock of the.
You
church.
carry the sword of the Spirit.
That's right. Which is far more deadly anyway. So who needs a gun?
Well, then I can't ask my next question, my follow-up question to that.
Which is
anyway.
How many people have you killed? It's the question, right?
No. Because you're a trained killer, I was going to ask, who in this room do you think you could take?
That's a great question. I probably stand a chance with Julie. Let's.
Okay. All right. Off to a rousing start. You just got started, and you're talking about beating up my wife.
Hey, man, it was your question.
I don't know. Vicar's thin. I think you got him. Vicar, what do you think?
You're probably right.
But maybe after the show we'll have a go. We'll see what happens.
We'll have to record that, put it on the YouTube.
Have a scrum. Have a kerfuffle.
That's right.
Fisticuffs. I love all those old fighting names.
It's pretty rad, man.
But I digress.
Have a row.
A row.
That's one I haven't heard for a while.
That's your angle file over here.
A rumble?
That's right.
Maybe a rumble? So, Berg, what are you preaching on? Vicar, what's a text for Sunday? What's a gospel reading? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
Honesty, it's good.
I have looked at it. We had to be fair, it's Tuesday when most of us were at a pastor's conference. So, it is from Luke 14, and it has really two essential parts. One is the healing of a man on Sabbath, where Jesus heals someone, and the Pharisees have trouble with it because it was on the Sabbath. And they weren't supposed to heal on the Sabbath, apparently, or do anything. And then the second part is the parable of the wedding feast, where when you go to a wedding feast, sit at the low seat.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you have to say about that, Berg?
I actually was thinking about this during the conference, and the first thing I came to was, okay, are these like two different narratives, or are they actually unified by something? And I think they're actually unified. I think they're really the same narrative, and the same teaching of Jesus, just in two different ways.
Mm-hmm.
The first way, I think Jesus teaches by practicing polemics. Polemics is the art of disputation. Okay, the word polemic actually comes from the Greek word for war, right? Which is very apropos for our guest, because he's going to war against the Pharisees, these men who seek to humiliate him and exalt themselves in the process, and he teaches them in a very, very sharp and different way than in the second part, where Jesus teaches how we normally teach, very straightforward. So I think there's I think here Jesus is showing too that polemics are necessary in the church, especially when the church faces her adversaries.
And I think this text is probably the reason why that a lot of Lutherans sit in the back of church.
Friend, come up higher. Right?
That's right.
Indeed. I've always thought of putting in like a machine to like an escalator sort of deal. So like the pews will just like go down and then it'll bring them all up to the front.
Well, especially where you're at, you've got a long church.
It's long.
And so you're probably at times like, hello back there.
Indeed. We're getting people to sit up front. It's slow but sure.
So part of that is then obviously just realizing, you can't teach about taking the lower seat without thinking about Christ,
right,
who became the least among us.
Right, and all of this is taught by Jesus' life itself, right? Even though he's teaching these things in two different ways, he is the one who is always doing good. He is the one who is always humiliating himself and thinking of the other, which
is completely different than I think modern thought.
Right.
In the sense that when people think about what are my rights, we believe that men should be pastors, not women, and that, well, don't they have the right to be there, rather than seeking, well, how may I serve? How can I be the least?
Right. And how does God tell me about that? And that's the thing, is that and this is why polemics is necessary, right? Because there are adversaries of Christ out there who don't want to learn. And for the sake of the flock, we actually have to defend them against the wolves. Because if all you do is feed the sheep, you make pretty good lamb chops for the wolf. I mean,
yeah.
So.
Hey, Kearney, do you have anything to add?
Well, I know this isn't the epistle reading for that particular Sunday, but it certainly brings to mind Philippians 2. Let each of you, have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who, though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men. The idea that you mentioned women pastors is one that often, especially as pastors in the Missouri Synod, we hear that a lot, where people will say, "Oh, you must think much of yourselves," and I think it's wrong-headed to think about it that way. That we follow the example of our Lord both in Scripture and in humility and authority. It's a recognition that we don't have the right to come up with our own plans and machinations. We take orders from higher up, and fitting with what we were talking about before. That you preached on Sunday that the centurion says, "I too am a man under authority," and that is true of every pastor. We don't stand up there by our own power and might. We stand up there by the authority of God, and that's the only authority we have is the word of God that is given to us to speak.
So I have a question. I have to ask my chaplain questions here. So, who is on your personal Mount Rushmore of military chaplains?
Ooh, that is a tough one. I don't know.
Vicar, how about yours? Well, there's Kearney.
I wouldn't put me up there, no.
Is there one that's like kind of well known? Is there
There are a number. I think the thing with the chaplaincy, though, is that as I've studied my forebears in that field, particularly in the Missouri Synod, just like being a pastor, there's a lot of unsung heroes that do heroic deeds that don't receive medals of honor because whatever circumstance. That's not what we do it for, right? I think there's a number of very faithful Missouri Synod chaplains out there, and I think mine would have to be kind of faceless. I know that's kind of a cop out, but I know too many good men to put any up there
Right.
on that wall.
Well, you know what? There is one chaplain that I've often admired, and there's a book about him that I'd like to say I've read, but I've paged through, and I've heard it's a really good book.
Are there good pictures? Is it?
And that is, maybe we could put the link of it, but it's a book about the pastor who was...
Mission at Nuremberg is the name of the book, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's Pastor Henry Garricky. He was a chaplain in World War II that his sons were both drafted in the war, and he at a late age, I think he was 40, and had to get a waiver to get in. Felt a strong desire to go and support the soldiers. His boys were both at war, and he felt a strong desire to be there. And the Missouri Synod called him as a chaplain, active duty. And because of his ability with the German language, at the end of the war, everybody else was going home with VE Day and celebrating the victory. He was asked to stay back and be the chaplain to the war criminals, the SS war criminals. And so Mission at Nuremberg is a fascinating study where you are able to see some of the notes and the mind of a chaplain given to preach Christ to those that have done despicable and horrible things. And there are some who do repent, and that he mentions that he fully expects to see them at the resurrection. And there are those that don't, and to their dying breath curse God and die. So it's a very fascinating study of pastoral care in a pretty extreme circumstance.
All right. All right, that brings us, with that, to our top 12 list. Peter, hey, why don't you say it, Kearney?
I don't remember how it goes. That's embarrassing.
He claims to listen. How
I
can you
do.
claim to listen and not know what this
Well,
is?
I also have a little bit of attention deficit issues, so I know.
Peter,
Play it.
the intro.
Play the intro. That's it.
Enough nonsense. It's time for Bollhagen's Top 12.
We'll have to edit that out.
No,
that's
not happening.
staying in.
Oh, come on.
Nice
guys.
try.
Anytime you ask for something to edit,
That's right.
you should leave it in.
Highlight, yeah.
All right.
So what do you got for us tonight?
Well, what did we just have the last couple of days?
A pastor's conference.
Pastors Conference. Okay. What do you think would be, for someone like me, would be very challenging about a pastors conference?
Oh, let me count the ways.
You don't want to say it, do you? So, this is kind of a public service announcement. I gotta turn off my there we go, my sound.
I do like your text
My
message. Yeah,
My text message
Yeah,
is Old Spice whistle.
it's
That's
pretty.
what it was,
yeah, it's
yeah.
apropos.
It reminds me of this story. Okay, it's gonna be one of those shows.
That's okay.
It's gonna be one of those shows. Just accept it. All right. So, I got a call from way back when. Nobody knows who this is, so I can say it. It was like when I first got a cell phone. Okay, I thought it'd be fun for the ringtone to be the Price is Right fail horn. You know, bum 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 bum. Ah. So I get a phone call, right, on the church phone. My cell phone is sitting right there in front of me, and I had it turned up because I'm not really good at answering text messages.
We can all attest to
Yes.
that. Yeah.
You're not wrong.
So I had to turn way up, and I get a phone call from someone who wanted to get married, and generally as Lutherans, pastors, Missouri Synod, we have certain qualifications that we don't just say, oh, okay, come take a look around the church, see if you want to get married here, right?
Right.
You know, it's a Christian marriage, and so we expect for us to know them, see them in church, and know that they're Christian. Well, this particular person had about 100 reasons why it really wasn't time to be married. Okay, hundreds of them. Okay, it seems like, and so finally it's building up, and I'm thinking, okay, I'll talk to her, but before I could say come and visit with me and we can talk about it, because there's always an opportunity. there. She says, "So, will you marry us on this day?" And just then, guess what I got?
A text message. Yes.
Oh, that's horrible.
So she goes, "So, will you marry us?" And everyone heard. Yep.
Oh, that's
So, did she visit you?
No.
something told her to stay home.
I told her, yeah. So.
Oh no.
So if she happens to be listening, I really didn't want to talk. I did want to talk with you. Anyways. But it could have been timed more perfectly. I'll be honest.
Yeah. It's a God thing.
So what were we talking about?
Top 12.
Top 12. Yes.
Pastors Conference.
Pastors Conference. So my top 12 list is this. Now you don't have to be a pastor for this because a lot of people attend conferences. Correct?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, a lot of different professions.
Yep. Continuing ed.
Peter, do you have to ever go to any conferences, any meetings?
Nah, I'm all good there.
All right. You don't have any like podcast engineer seminars you have to attend to steer this train wreck?
I've actually got several this week, so.
Oh wow.
I'm a pretty busy guy.
We're gonna double your pay. What were we talking about? Top 12 list. So, this is a little helpful top 12 list if you have trouble paying attention in a conference.
They can go on long. Yes, this is true.
Right. So I've been a pastor. Right. I've been a pastor for 21 years, and I've always had to find, because you know what? If you have attention issues, sometimes they can literally be painful. You can have a physical reaction.
The struggle is real.
No, you don't think you think I'm kidding.
I know what you're talking about. I fully understand what you're saying.
You actually sometimes get angry. Sometimes it's just.
I tend to feel it in my legs where I'm just kind of itchy and almost like my skin's crawling. I just need to leave. And yeah, I gotcha.
So these are the top 12 attention deficit conference life hacks, which is so fitting for today. It is so fitting.
Where was this 5 years ago? Here we go.
No. Here's the thing. You don't need this. You've seen me do probably most of these.
Probably, yeah.
And Vicar's seen some of these already. 16.0. So say you're at a conference. Here's the thing. All right. What you want to do is you still want to give respect to the person presenting, and you want to make the most of it. You don't want to just sit there and waste your time. So these are ways to help you think about it, pay attention, things that you can do to have more comfort in sitting there for a long, long time. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Number 12.
Offer to get coffee for people at your table.
Aw, that's a nice thing.
Yeah, see, it's nice. You get up, you stretch, you walk around. Everyone says, "Oh,
that's servant leadership, right?"
Yeah.
there.
In fact, I think I did that within 15 minutes of the conference starting yesterday. I was like, "Vicar, you need some coffee?"
Well, and then everybody has to go to the bathroom, so you know.
There you go.
Is that number 11?
No.
Number 11.
Make friends with people who actually pay attention and take notes.
Hey.
So that when, not if, you miss something, you can always ask.
Wise as serpents, right? That's
Yeah.
It's like cheating off the smart kids in school.
But I contend that having attention deficit issues is not a matter of smart, it's a matter of different.
You're right.
here.
All right.
Number 10.
Draw pictures of the points that you want to remember.
This ties in well if you've ever seen Pastor Bollhagen's sermon notes. A lot of times pictures are involved.
That's actually true. Sometimes I actually will, in my sermon manuscript, I will have pictures to remind me of the kinds of things that I talk about. And so I imagine the pictures in my head that I see, and I describe what I see in my head. It's a thing.
It works for him.
See, this is a new homiletics thing that we can do, right? Put out a book and be like, paint by preaching, right?
Right.
You know?
No, it's true. Try this sometime, Berg. Find a really good picture of the text that you're studying, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a time in the sermon when we have to kind of describe what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Take a really good look at that picture and kind of think about it. And then when you're preaching, you have that picture of what's going on and just describe what you see in your head of what's going on. What do you think about that?
Most people would be afraid of what is going on in my head. So
Number 9.
Stretch as though you have severe back pain.
I'm going into the infantry. I'm pretty sure soon I will have severe back pain.
So, because you have to stand up sometimes, right?
It's true.
And if you say, I'm standing up because I'm having trouble paying attention, but if you stand up and you put your right hand like right there in your lower back and you make this little bit of a wince, people think, oh, okay, yeah, he looks like he's been squatting anyways. So
I thought you said you skipped leg day. See, I do listen.
all right. All right.
Number 8.
This is, not everyone can do this, but this is why I found helpful, is get yourself a podcast and write a top 12 list during the conference.
That is oddly specific.
Yeah. If you have a conference, you're like, maybe I should start a podcast. There you go. Are you all right, Berg?
yeah, it's.
Are you learning something?
I am. I'm learning a lot.
Are you finding any of these helpful?
They are all incredibly helpful.
All right. But these are, don't, like I said, these aren't just for pastors. These are for
Anybody at a
anybody.
conference, yeah.
Anybody.
Number 7.
Use the ideas given to spark immediate ideas. Here's the thing. Let me explain what that means. Okay? So, your mind tends to wander sometimes,
Yes.
right? And so when your mind wanders, actually use that, because when you have attention issues, part of the problem is your mind is just working faster than the presenter can talk, right? And you're thinking about things actually more quickly. So for me, I generally tend to think of wisecracks. I don't know if you...
That is shocking to me to hear.
Right. But I've learned to use that to think of ideas, taking the information that you're hearing and actually using that immediate thought process to think of actually good and helpful ideas for what you're doing.
I
Well,
like it.
like I did my whole midweek Lenten service when in the first 10 minutes of him talking, so felt like a lot
Wow.
longer, but
This is funny. I have number 6 written down, but it's a fragment sentence, and I'm not sure what I was thinking of.
read it.
All right.
Read it.
Number 6.
Find something in the presentation that you're... That's all I have written down.
What was the title of these top 12 again?
Wow.
Excited
Hey,
about
Vicar,
it?
you can attest to that. That it's not actually, that's actually what happened, right?
True story.
Yeah. See? You know what I should have done? I should have put a picture in there.
Indeed.
That would have
Put a
helped.
picture in there.
Picture's worth 1,000 words right there.
All right.
Number 5.
Exercise.
During the presentation?
Well, to a certain degree. For example, you get a break, right?
Mm-hmm.
You
You're
can...
gonna start doing yoga while he's presenting.
Yes.
I thought that
Might
was
be a little awkward.
Yeah.
wasn't that one of your heresies last week?
Downward dog or whatever.
Yes, but for example, you could choose to either during the break to grab some cookies and sit down, or you can take a brisk 10-minute walk. See?
See? Yeah.
Or if you have a lunch to actually go and do some push-ups, get the because the thing is you got this
Put
energy
chairs
pent
away,
up.
work on the guns.
Right.
Right.
Exercise. Find a way to when you're not when you
Well,
don't
and when you're sitting there, you can do your pec deals.
That's right. Hey, Berg, can you hand me a Kleenex? I should make the vicar do it, but my nose is running.
Servant leader.
Oh, fail.
Number 4.
Now, this is something that really, actually, to me, is really helpful, and it's weird, okay? It's kind of weird as I describe it, okay? All right. Seek to be interested in the person as a presenter. So you understand, try to, is the presenter's going, okay?
So in other words, fake it till you make it.
No.
Find the quirks.
So, like, the presenter's going. You think to yourself, like, I wonder what kind of car he drives.
No, I can attest. This is a very effective method.
Because what happens is, this is because your mind is going and you're thinking and you're still catching the information, but then the more you try to understand, like, I wonder what his favorite food is.
I've got
wow. I mean,
I've got an example. Okay, here's an example. While I was at basic training to become a chaplain, there was a retired colonel who was an infantry officer turned historian. And he told us about the Battle of Cowpens from the Revolutionary War. And I can tell you all that I know about the Battle of Cowpens comes from the movie The Patriot, which is not at all historically accurate. But this guy lived and breathed history. So when I started thinking, I wonder what it's like at home for him and his wife, who is also a historian, what a dinner table conversation must be like. And I started thinking, who is this guy on the inside? How does he tick? What does he do? I really started to give him a lot more grace in what he was presenting and actually digesting more than I would have had I just been taking
Because what
notes.
happens is you actually think about the person and your brain starts to then predict what he's going to say, and if everything matches up. I know it's like Berg looks very confused. You look very confused.
I just don't know how you guys live your lives.
Well, disclaimer. Predicting what he's going to say is not an effective method for marriage conversations. Just throwing that out there. I've gotten in a lot of trouble over the years.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying
same
that you
method.
take your predictions and say, well, that prediction is the gospel truth.
Sure.
Although I've been married for 25 years. I know my wife more than she knows herself. She knows it's true. She'll tell me, she'll say, I'm hungry. And she doesn't know what she's hungry for. I know exactly what she's hungry for. It's true. Because I'm actually interested in my wife as a person.
Aww.
So touching.
I think about what kind of car does she like to drive? Oh, a minivan.
Watch it, buddy.
Oh, all right. Looks like Bollhagen is walking home tonight. No, but if what it is that does too is because when it's a slow presentation, you have to fight the urge to be angry with the person who's boring you to death, and it creates empathy.
Yes, this is true.
No, Berg, this is very weird for you.
I don't believe in that.
Berg's relating to the other guy.
Yeah, Berg's the other guy. Yes, so that's what we're doing. We're like, when I do the podcast, Berg, I wonder, what kind of French does he like? The crinkle cut French fries or the curly Q French fries?
See, like the Emperor, I want you to embrace your hatred. So,
But it actually, in a way, it creates empathy and appreciation that people are a certain way. You understand that, and then you appreciate what they have to say because you understand it from the way he sees life or she sees life. For us, it's a he because it's usually a pastor's conference.
yep.
You might even find that person in real life, like at the seminary, when I see a professor drive out of the entrance in a Volkswagen with the seat down low and the hand up high. And it's a professor that I have a hard time, staying attentive in class. But I empathize.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, easy for you to say. But, I saw him as a person. And then sometimes you actually see them in real life. Sometimes you confirm yourself in your predictions, and other times you're completely wrong.
It's true.
Both awesome, though.
Well, isn't that kind of what we're doing with this podcast a little bit? People have
Peter makes us sound way better than we are.
Yeah.
I can also attest to that. That is true. That's
All right.
Number 3.
When your mind wanders, simply direct it into helpful ways. I guess I kind of said that already, didn't I?
That's all right.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's okay.
When I wrote it, I had written number 8, and then I'd forgotten that I had written.
Number 2, make shorter lists.
Yes.
I would do a top 9 list, but that's just not how we roll.
Number 2.
This is simple. It actually goes kind of hand in hand with your forgive and forget.
Nice.
You know how
You remember that?
Yeah,
It touches the place where my heart
right.
should be.
I remember portions of it.
Oh boy.
And that is know yourself. Okay?
Mhm.
So there is a tendency when you have attention issues, right? Is to beat yourself up over it. To say, I should have been paying more attention. And to be mad at yourself that you couldn't get what you wanted out of it. Or whatever the case may be. But if you simply know that that's who you are and embrace it, one is it takes the anxiety out of it, and it helps you, opens up to say, okay, I may miss some things, or my mind might wander. I'm not going to beat myself up over it, and so because that's what can make it painful, and it is when you're listening and you want to pay attention, or you're reading a long book and you really want to digest every word, and it just doesn't come the way you want it to. And if you just know that that's who you are and just say, I'm going to do my best at it. I'm going to do my best to pay attention. But that's who I am. I'm not going to beat myself over it. It's really no different than any other kind of thing that people go through. Mm-hmm. If someone has depression, they beat themselves over it. They're saying, I really shouldn't be sad like I am. Or somebody has anxiety. They think, I really shouldn't be anxious about it because I know everything's in the hands of Jesus. But if you simply know that's who you are and you still do your best, but you don't beat yourself up over it, and then it really is a very freeing idea.
I think it can also help for the pastor in particular to consider we have members with attention deficit issues, and even more so as people are used to sound bites and things like that. So it's a healthy reminder to have a cohesive sermon, mm-hmm. because all of us have sat through a sermon that had disjointed portions all over the place, and you get lost and you miss the whole point. Where it's a good reminder to us that to preach to those.
That is true. When I'm working on a sermon, I'll say, I will actively think to myself, this would not hold my attention.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's when it's time to rework it. Yeah.
You learned something, Berg?
Tons.
All right.
And number 1.
Make haikus from what you're learning.
Nice. I will always endorse poetry. So
for example, the Baptist, Thomas, the Passover, and the third day, the Gospel of John.
Nice. That is basically
Excellent.
what we talked about for 2 days.
Think of all the wonderful haikus you could have made there, Berg.
No, I think your one basically covered it.
And that was only
you.
never mind.
Yep.
You know how I was able to do that so well? It's because I was thinking about
You're just
the
talented.
person. I was
Empathizing.
Mm-hmm. Little empathy goes a long way.
So, that is the top 12 list. By the way, if you are listening, let us know what you're having as part of the show. The whole idea is for you to sit back, feel like you're a part of the room, like you're in your own little VIP section listening to the podcast. Let us know what you are having during the podcast. Vicar, where can they get hold of us?
You can find us at Clerical Errors on Facebook. You can add us at Clerical Errors P for podcast on Twitter.
At me, bro.
They can find us just searching in that Google bar, clericalerrors.org, or any app where podcasts can be found.
All right. So, Kearney, when they ask, well, what'd you do your last night in Iowa?
I was on a wonderful podcast that's heard worldwide, at least United States wide, except for Oklahoma.
So another chaplain question. Okay.
Yes.
So, what led you to the military chaplaincy? In the sense of, did God come knocking on your door? Did you have some sort of a shining moment? Oh!
No, I can't say that it was quite like that, but I was a musician in the Illinois and Indiana National Guards, respectively, through college and seminary. And over the course of time, I got my toe in the water of military culture and got to know a lot of soldiers. And over the years, it was a thought that wouldn't go away, that there are soldiers that need pastors. And in particular, here's a shameless plug: the Iowa East Symposium was started my second or third year in the parish. And the topic that I chose for that was the just warfare. That just war is considered a good work according to our confessions, but that's not clarified. What is just warfare? So we had a conference with the young pastors in the district on just warfare, and it got me thinking a lot more about the particular struggles and difficulties of our soldiers and how they need good Missouri Synod pastors. And then after I became a reserve chaplain, I met a soldier down in Fort Polk, Louisiana. My unit was doing some training down there, and I met a soldier actually from Fort Drum, who his brother is at the seminary in Fort Wayne, and I apologize, but I cannot remember his name. But his brother's at the seminary right now, and he's in Fort Drum, and in Fort Drum it's about an hour and a half to the nearest Missouri Synod church. And so this man had gone about a year and a half without communion because the training schedule was fast and furious. He didn't have time to go home. So that was the first time someone has begged me for the Lord's Supper. And he told me his circumstances. I communed him, and I went home thinking, there are a lot of guys like this that are guys and girls that are out there that are going a long period of time without a pastor, sometimes deploying. Well, in the course of time, I became an active duty chaplain through the Missouri Synod, and when I was assigned the Army assigns where we go. It has nothing to do with the Missouri Synod saying where we go. It's the Army decides where we go. And when I received my orders, of all the battalions in the Army, I went to this soldier's battalion. So I will get to know him, assuming he hasn't PCS to a new location. I will...
What is PCS?
Permanent change of station. Every 3 years, the Army moves you. Sorry. The Army has almost as many acronyms as the Missouri Synod. Almost.
It sounds like maybe if you were around longer, you could do a top 12 list. How to sit through a conference when you have PCS.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so that's kind of the long and short story of how I became a Missouri Synod chaplain. But yeah, so that's how it happened.
All right, so what do you want to do, Berg? We could do a news that bothers Berg. We could spin the wheel. So, or do you want to do your quote?
No, bring on the Bible passage.
All right.
Let's stick it into Mr. Roboto and see what comes out.
All right. Peter.
That was your cue.
Oh, I didn't realize that was me.
Follow orders.
Play the soundbite. I can't remember.
Play the intro.
Do you have impaired concentration? Then this is for you. It's the Impaired Concentration Bible Study. One verse only.
You told me I wouldn't have to prepare.
All right, so Peter, what do we have for a verse today?
Well, let's find out. We have Hebrews 10:23.
All right. Hebrews 10:23. Vicar. Didn't we have Hebrews last time?
We did.
We did.
Wow.
Hebrews 10:23. Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful.
All right. What do you have to say about that, Berg?
I think we should ask Chaplain Kearney.
Well, I think it's appropriate. So speaking of the chaplain side of things, the chaplaincy puts pastors into a position where they're having to make a bold confession in a milieu of many, many confessions, not unlike a pastor in small town in Iowa. Around us, there are many many confessions that are vying for our adherence, many false beliefs and misleading doctrines that want to pull us astray. But we are to hold fast to the confession of our faith, confession of our hope without wavering. And we do so not because we have any power in ourselves. We do so because he who promised is faithful, that the one who promised to keep us in our baptismal vows and keep us sprinkled clean from an evil conscience through our baptism will keep us pure through his wholesome word.
So I have a question, Berg. I think you can answer this one.
I'll try.
It talks about our confession, right?
Yes.
What is the difference between the confession of our hope and just a personal belief? Do you see much of a difference? Or is it the same thing?
I mean, usually, it'd be fun to see the Greek on this, but since we're, do you have the Greek?
I can pull it up.
Nice. See, technology is awesome. If it's what I think it is, it's for confession, it's homologeo, right? It means saying the same thing, right? From the Greek word homo, meaning the same, and logeo, which means to speak,
yeah.
Right? A confession is a speaking. It is beyond just a belief.
And it's a corporate thing, right?
Oftentimes it is. As we believe, therefore we speak, and we speak together. We say the same thing together, and so
because
yeah.
this is the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because I think it's an important distinction to make that you have a church's confession, and then you also have a personal belief. So, for example, if someone comes to communion or wants to come to communion, and you ask, well, some churches say, well, I'll ask, do you believe you're receiving the body and blood of Jesus? And they might be of a church body where they don't believe that. So they might that day say, well, that's what I believe today, but it is not their confession. And so I do believe that that in some ways our personal beliefs from day to day waver.
Yep.
You know, what we believe on a personal level yesterday, today, and tomorrow always changes, whether it's about science, whether it's about politics, whether it's about sports, all those things. We're not the same people. Our personal beliefs waver all over the place. But what keeps us firm in the true faith is a confession. Is having something where we say, this is what we believe, teach, and confess. So, for example, this happens a lot of times with Lutherans. Has this ever happened to you where someone says to you, well, I believe as a Lutheran, I believe this. And then you ask them to describe it, and they have trouble describing it. And they have trouble explaining why. And I do believe what happens is over time, the personal belief that wavers up and down, day and changes all the time, at some point conforms to the confession that they make. And so when you confess a creed every Sunday, it actually informs your personal belief, it strengthens it, and it keeps you on the same narrow way of the truth. And so when you have a church's confession, it really leads and guides that personal belief of our own that tends to waver, and it makes us, this is what we believe together. And it also then shows the importance of having brothers and sisters in Christ as well who make the same confession, because that is very important to your own faith. You see this all the time when sometimes a church might change their position on something, whether it's on a whole host of issues. It could be on women pastors. It could be on sexuality. It could be on a whole host of things. And you might hear someone say, maybe you're in a church that's in this situation where you say, well, I know this has become what our church confesses, but I don't believe that. Okay? What happens is, that may not be your personal belief, but as long as you're in a church that confesses, it's going to change your own personal belief. At some point, what's going to happen is your personal belief over time will change and morph into what your own church confesses. And so if you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking, well, it's not really what I believe. I don't believe the Bible teaches, even though my church teaches that. It's the words of warning that confession that your church makes over time will inform and guide your personal belief in a new direction. Many churches where there have been, 60% of the church agreed with this, 40% did not. If you go the next 20 years, what's going to happen?
It's going to be like 90-10.
It's going to be, it's going to, the belief of the people and the members of that congregation will morph into what the church confesses.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have passages in the Bible that says, for it is with your mouth, your heart that you believe and are justified, and with your mouth that you confess and are saved.
Right, Romans chapter 10.
Just as Scripture says, anyone who puts their trust in the Lord will never be put to shame. It puts two things in there. It says, this is what you believe with your heart, but that's not it only. You confess it with your mouth, and you do that corporately with other people who confess the same thing, so that your own personal beliefs don't pull you away from the Word of God and the truths of Scripture.
This fits well with the continuation of that text. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that with the
one verse
Yeah, I know.
only.
But it fits.
If you use it to describe it,
it is.
okay.
Yeah. So let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. And it continues. And let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. So there is that aspect of corporate coming together and confess. We speak together the same thing, and that I think you're right. I think that's a very helpful way to look at confession.
And then there's also a commitment to the confession. Going back to the communion thing. If someone says, "Well, I can believe that today," and you ask, "Well, is that your confession?" Meaning, is this do you make this also your confession by where you go to church, where you choose to hold your membership? Because it's kind of like telling someone, a guy telling a girl before they're married, "But I love you, baby." What are they saying? Well, they're saying, "This is what I believe today, but I am not yet ready to make that my
Public
confession through marriage."
Right.
And that's, you see that it's really the same type of thing.
And especially when dealing with the rail, admitting people to the Lord's Supper, pastors are not given to judge hearts. That's not our job. But we do judge confession, and the confession that people make is by their words and deeds, whether what they say they believe and how they live their life. So we are not to judge people's hearts, but we do look at the outward confession. That's the best we can do.
All right. By the way, when you added those other verses, I was wondering what kind of car you drive.
It's a rusty car that, thanks to a member, I had my last Sunday, and after the installation service, I went out to my truck and found a couple cans of spray paint that I think I talked to this member. She said that she thought it would help my car get a few more years of life. I can cover over the rust a little bit and see if I can extend the life of that truck.
There's a sermon illustration there somewhere.
That's right.
All right. So, Berg, what do you want to do next? Do you want to do your quote, or you want to do, we got a news that can bother you as well?
Let's do the news.
All right. This news story is brought to us from Vicar. Vicar found this one. You want to let us know what's in the story?
Let's do it. This is from Newsweek.
Oh, wait, Peter.
Oh.
Play the intro.
Right.
I got it.
There's fake news, there's real news, then there's real news that Berg wishes was fake. It's time to hear news that bothers Berg.
3 times the charm.
Way to follow orders, young man.
Awesome. This is from Newsweek. Okay? The headline, Berg, is Robot Priest Reads Sermon at Buddhist Temple in Japan.
Finally.
All right? Let's get into this a little bit. So Mindar is a 6-foot-tall, gender-neutral android modeled after Canon, the Buddhist goddess of mercy.
So how is it gender neutral if it's based off of a goddess?
Well, it does say it has a slightly feminine voice. But Just the voice box, I guess. So this robot costs about $1 million. Mindar is made from aluminum with silicone skin on its face, hands, and shoulders.
Well, that's horrifying.
It was built by a robotics professor at Osaka University in Japan. Right now, Mindar can only recite the 25-minute Heart Sutra while turning its head and torso around. But
What? Say that, okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
So I'm guessing that robot can't do yoga.
So, what is the robot reading again?
the robot is reading a 25-minute Heart Sutra while turning its head and torso around. Here's a quote. "You can cling to a sense of selfish ego," it says in a vaguely feminine voice. Quote, "Worldly desires are nothing other than a mind lost at sea." Okay, and this is the part that I think that will bother you, right? So AI, the creators are hoping that eventually it'll incorporate AI to provide feedback tailored to individuals who go to the temple for far longer than a human priest could. So Berg, does it bother you that you could be replaced by an AI silicone robot?
Actually, one of my favorite books is Good News from the Vatican, where they elect a robot pope. And so, I mean, I saw this coming. So, Kearney's
So
over here
it's a
crying,
robot for
so.
people like me, right?
Right.
help
Well,
on-
no, it's not for you because this would go far longer than a human priest could.
Oh.
And just think, a lot of your strategies wouldn't work because you'd be like, well, I wonder what kind of hard drive this robot's got. So, your questions would change a lot, I think. So,
And it's programmed to go on for 25 minutes straight.
Yeah.
so I think your attention deficit might not do as well with the AI.
Well, I think we're always looking for new avenues for the podcast, right?
It's true.
I mean, we could make a clerical errors robot.
The Vicar app is only one step away from that.
Oh, that's true. Why would we need the robot when we have the Vicar app?
It's the truth.
Right. And it's a little bit cheaper.
How much did you say it cost to build that robot again?
Around $1 million.
No. Well,
We could keep the Vicar program going for a long time with
yeah.
$1 million bucks.
That is true.
yeah. Well, that's probably how much you wind up paid to go to school.
I was about to ask that question, but then I reconsidered.
All right. Well, we do not have any questions. Isn't that sad, Berg?
It's very sad. People
People
why?
are not interested in what we have to say.
I wonder why.
So, what do you think we ought to do about that? Do you think if you're listening, maybe you should send us some questions?
Throw us some pity questions. Just,
What kind of car do you like to drive?
Well, I've already given that away. Everybody knows I drive a sweet Oldsmobile Aurora. Remember when Vicar 15.0 had to go out and start it so my engine wouldn't die?
Yeah, that was awesome.
It's a classic episode.
So.
We have actually received an email.
Oh, we have.
Nice.
It's not a question, but it is a email. It's more of a correction, it seems.
All right, fire away, Peter.
Yeah.
It reads, "Dearest Pastor Bollhagen, you made a clerical error on the regular show I Yeet Better. You stated that your first date with your wife was way back in '89, but this is inaccurate. It was actually at the Christmas dance on December 22nd, 1990, during your senior year of high school, when you couldn't take your first choice date because she was going to be out of town. Also, a note to Pastor Berg. It was very kind of you to apologize for leading Bollhagen down the wrong rabbit hole. Please know that you'll never be blamed for his comments unless you intentionally set him up.
Well,
He has a very patient, loving, and forgiving wife who really did know what she was getting into and yet still married him.
Oh, okay. Well, apparently I was a year off. Oh, well.
I wonder who that email's from.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go investigate that.
We may never know.
I listened to that email and I wonder, what kind of car does she drive?
I'm guessing a minivan. That'd be my guess.
The kind that looks like a blueberry. All right. Well, I think that's been enough nonsense, don't you?
Yeah. So hopefully, guys, send in questions. We really appreciate it. So.
And so, thank you for listening.
Well, hey, before we sign off, Kearney, do you have any parting words?
Yes, anything that my questions lacked. See, we had the Mount Rushmore of chaplains. We've had who in this room can you take, do you think?
No, I suppose the only thing I can think of is that, the last 5 years have been a great opportunity to get to know you, all the people in this room, and you've been good colleagues, good friends, and I thank you for the time in the parish we spent together, and look forward to staying in touch.
And we will certainly remember you and your family and the people that you serve in our prayers. I'm not saying like that, like most people do, where they say that and they're like,
Hey, you should give him some of our business cards so he can,
Oh, yeah.
So that way we can have more listeners in New York.
Right. We'll be able to track that.
I mean, Hey, have we hit 5,000 yet?
Almost.
Almost.
Almost. Almost. And Oklahoma? Where are you at, man?
There was somebody who liked Clerical Errors who was from Oklahoma City but now lives in like Alabama or something. I'm just like, come on, person, get back,
Help us out, man. You know people back there.
Right. I mean, you're from there.
You're from there.
I still think we gotta get that billboard made.
Yeah, the billboards are expensive though.
It's true.
Maybe we can get a Clerical Errors robot in Oklahoma.
Oh,
There you go.
They won't know the difference anyway.
All right, get more listeners from Oklahoma by offending all of them. That's a great tactic, Berg. Let us know, what kind of cars do you drive in Oklahoma? All right. Now I think we're done.
Yep.
Well, thank you for listening to the podcast. I am Bollhagen.
And I'm Berg.
And I'm Kearney.
Thank you for listening. And,
Let Kearney do the sign off.
yeah, so sign us off, Kearney.
We do that.
Come on, we're waiting.
And may your battles of cowherds go your way.
Thank you for joining us. This podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Questions, thoughts, concerns? You can contact us on Facebook at facebook.com/Clerical Errors Podcast, on Twitter at Clerical Errors P for podcast, or email us at feedback@clericalerrors.org. Thanks for listening to Clerical Errors. See you next time.